What is up, everybody? 9 o'clock Eastern Time, Thomas Take Sports Podcast time. I am your host, Ryan Thomas, bringing you another edition of the Thomas Take, part 2 of today's show, March 20th, 2017. And as I just laid it down, my 10th greatest UFC fight, the fight that I feel is 10th in my top 10. And it was so hard to make this list, but I made it as intriguing as I possibly could. Tune in to what I feel is the 10th best fight in UFC history, and a fight that is the most impactful fight, one of the most highly anticipated fights. In my eyes, still to this day, the most highly anticipated fight in UFC history. Tune in, find out what it was, and let me know what you guys think. Go back if you haven't watched that fight. It's on YouTube in its full entirety. One of the best fights of all time for sure. That being said, back to pigskin, back to football. Marshawn Lynch wants to come back. Or does he? Who knows what is going on with this situation? Nobody really knows. It's reported that the former Buffalo Bill, the former Seattle Seahawk, the former Super Bowl champion, that should have been a two-time Super Bowl champion, Marshawn Lynch, wants to come back, wants to get back to the gridiron, so to speak, lace up the cleats once again, and he wants a homecoming. He wants to come home to Oakland, where he is from, and play for the Silver and Black. The Raiders have avoided running back. They let go of Latavius Murray. Murray signed with the Minnesota Vikings, so the writing is on the wall a little bit as far as Lynch coming back to the NFL. Lynch was reported to have met with the Seattle Seahawks organization in a meeting in which he granted his release from the retirement list with the Seattle Seahawks. He is still under contract with the Seattle Seahawks, I believe, for this year and next year. So if he were to come back, Seattle does still have his rights. He would become a Seattle Seahawk right out of the gate, unless Seattle were to take him off that retired list and cut him, make him a free agent. And that would open the floodgates, so to speak, to Marshawn Lynch going back home, playing for the Oakland Raiders, being that X factor that the Oakland Raiders need to make that Super Bowl push. I think that would be it, as Marshawn Lynch was when he had joined the Seattle Seahawks. When Marshawn Lynch joined the Seattle Seahawks, that put the Seattle Seahawks over the top. That was what they needed in order to get there. And it was a move that is lauded as one of the best trades for the Seahawks, one of the best trades in NFL history, one of the most significant trades in NFL history in recent years. I would categorize it on the other end as the worst trade that the Bills have made in the last 20 years, maybe the worst trade the Bills have made all time. In all the history of the Buffalo Bills, of all the terrible moves that they've made, that has got to be one of the worst moves. He wasn't even out of his rookie contract yet. Buffalo traded their best player at the time for a fourth-round pick, albeit he had some off-the-field issues, but you don't trade Marshawn Lynch for a fourth-round pick that nets you a backup tackle, Chris Hairston. Yuck. That was pretty awful. So, how do I feel about the prospects of Marshawn Lynch coming back? I didn't anticipate, when Marshawn Lynch said he was retired, I thought that Lynch was retired. I thought it was legit. I didn't anticipate that he would come back. He did the Conan O'Brien show. He did the commercials for Xbox. He did the Bear Grylls show. He's doing a lot of reality shows. He seemed to be having just a fun time being retired. But apparently, from what I have read and what I have gathered, is that Marshawn Lynch has always had a dream to play for the Oakland Raiders, to play for his hometown team. And if that's the case, you got to achieve your dreams, right? So why not beast mode? Why would the Raiders not want beast mode? Sorry about that. Why would they not want him? And I think that it is a realistic scenario in which Lynch could come back. It just all depends on the Seattle Seahawks. Will they let Lynch go to another team? I don't see why they wouldn't, being that Lynch has done enough for that organization as it is, and they have filled that void with Thomas Rawls and the newly signed Eddie Lacy. Say what you want about, his weight and the weight stipulations in his contract, the weight incentives in his contract, no pun intended. He is a body that has had success in the NFL, that has been a starting running back in the NFL successfully for the Green Bay Packers the last few years. He had a down year, obviously because of his weight in years past, but he has started for a competitor to the Seattle Seahawks and the Green Bay Packers the last few years. So they know what he's made of. They know that he just needs to get in shape. And when Eddie Lacy is in shape, he is a Marshawn Lynch-like running back. So it filled a void for the Seattle Seahawks, and I anticipate that they will go in that direction with Rawls, with Eddie Lacy. Now, I've always liked Marshawn Lynch. There's a growing sentiment in Buffalo that, he's well-liked as well, but there are a plethora there's a plethora of people that throw the term out that he was a head case, he was a problem child. That was not the case. Marshawn Lynch was a great teammate. He was the workhorse running back for the Buffalo Bills in day one as a rookie. They drafted him in the first round, 2007 out of Cal, to be that rookie workhorse back, and he was. And obviously, he's one of the better Buffalo Bills of the last 10, 15 years. He was a successful running back. He had successful 1,000-yard seasons with the Buffalo Bills, double-digit touchdown seasons with the Buffalo Bills, and was a real cog in the lineup for the Buffalo Bills. So I got nothing against Marshawn Lynch. That whole situation with the Chippewa street accident, if that was the reason in which Buffalo decided to trade him, that might go down in history as one of the dumbest reasons of all time as to why a player would get traded. There were a lot of other stories, too, about Lynch, but you notice those stories did not follow Lynch in Seattle. So why were they so prevalent in Buffalo? Why were they not so prevalent in, or persistent, I should say, in Seattle? They weren't relevant or persistent in Seattle. And it was just one of those situations where I thought that he would eventually get over that hump of being a guy that, had some question marks attached to him. And he did. He was a real leader for the Seattle Seahawks. I had oftentimes seen Marshawn Lynch, I should say, be a real leader to both sides of the ball, to the defensive guys and the offensive guys. Russell Wilson does not have a Super Bowl without Marshawn Lynch. The Seattle Seahawks don't go back to the Super Bowl, again, without Marshawn Lynch. They don't go to the Super Bowl, period, without Marshawn Lynch. That trade sent them over the top. And when you're talking about Lynch going to the Oakland Raiders, who have Derek Carr, although he's coming back from an injury, he's been a great quarterback for the Oakland Raiders. It's the last guy I'd want to face in the playoffs. Amari Cooper, Michael Crabtree. Their defense, their front seven is stacked. First name that comes to mind is Khalil Mack. Bruce Irvin from the Seattle Seahawks as well. So they have big-name players on their team. Could a guy like Marshawn Lynch put them over the top? It's reported that Lynch is in fantastic shape, that the year off that he took did wonders for his body, which I would anticipate that it would, being that, being that he had that power style that really added a lot of wear and tear on him. I think he could, if he realistically wanted to, he could play another year or two in the NFL. That there is no doubt in my mind about that. The Oakland Raiders are definitely the right fit for his services. They want him on their team. He wants to play for them. Make it happen. There are often times in this league where things should definitely happen that don't. What is so wrong with a comeback story? If a guy decides to retire, if he wants to come back, let him come back. If a guy gets cut from a team and doesn't play for a couple years, a la Johnny Manziel, a la Tim Tebow, let him come back. Let him show something. Let them make amends for the mistakes that they might have made on or off the field throughout their career. That isn't the case with Marshawn Lynch. He is definitely, in history, one of the best running backs of this generation, shy of the 10,000-yard career yard mark, but I think he'll get there if he does get the green light to come back. This would be a fantastic story. It would be a fantastic end to a Hall of Fame career in Marshawn Lynch, and I really hope to see it. I want to see the Raiders succeed. The NFL is not the same without teams like the Raiders succeeding, and they had a fantastic year last year up until that snake-bitten injury bug that caught Derek Carr just at the wrong time. And I really feel like if Derek Carr was healthy going into the 2016 playoffs, it could have been a different story. The narrative definitely would have been different. Maybe not wins and losses wise, but the Raiders were there to play. They were playing for keeps, and that injury devastated their season. So Raiders, if they make this move, I think it would really dramatically improve their chances at getting over the hump of Denver, of possibly teams like the New England Patriots. They would be able to go drive for drive with the New England Patriots when you have a running back like Marshawn Lynch that really can set the tone for the offense and can really diminish the confidence and energy of a defense. We saw that time and time again over the course of his career in the NFL with the Seahawks and with the Buffalo Bills. I really hope to see him back. The NFL is not the same without him, and he is quite the character. I've always enjoyed him. I wished he could have finished his career as a Buffalo Bill. I think he would have been one of the all-time Buffalo Bills greats had he stayed here, but it didn't turn out that way. I'm Ryan Thomas. That was my take on Marshawn Lynch. Home sweet home. Could it be? Could this happen? I really hope it does. Take care. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. I got a lot of news coming up. Stay tuned.